What's going on, guys? Ryan Galloway for LowKick MMA here with Jordan Ellis, breaking down the main event at UFC 253, the middleweight title fight between Israel Adesanya and Paulo Costa. Jordan, how you doing, mate?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing very good. Exciting matchup we've got here in front of us. Obviously, the main event, two title fights on the card, but this one's probably the most anticipated of the two, I'd say. Israel Adesanya coming off his last fight against Yoel Romero. Wasn't the most interesting fight. A lot of fans were disappointed, me as well, in the performance of both athletes in that one. Wasn't fireworks as advertised. But, again, we're being told this matchup here against Paulo the Eraser Costa is going to be what we expected that year-old fight to be.
Yeah, it really should be. Like, there's no excuse. I don't think Costa's got any chance of picking any type of win up if he doesn't push forward and search for the knockout. So I don't think there's any risk of getting that same type of performance from Izzy. I think Costa should drag the best out of him in this one, so it should be a fun fight no matter what. But obviously we've said that before and we've been wrong. So fingers crossed it's not two in a row.
Fingers crossed. And we'll get into the statistics here for this one. Both fighters undefeated. Both fighters been in the UFC for a couple of years now. One thing that did interest me, however, was Paulo Costa had 3 fights in the UFC before Israel even made his debut. And now Israel's the champ. Obviously, Paulo's still been undefeated in that time. He's just fought only a couple of times, whereas Israel's fought quite a lot in that duration. Both guys pretty tall. Israel's 3 inches taller at 6'4". Costa's 6'1". The reach is the big deficit here. I think Israel's got 8 inches of reach on top of Costa, which is going to play a big factor in the matchup itself. Because like you said, Costa's going to want to come forward and land a big shot. But if he can't get close enough to land the shot, then Israel's just going to pick him apart, you think. And the 8-inch reach advantage is a big deal in that. And on top of that, there's a 5-inch reach advantage in the legs. So the kicks as well is going to keep him away at a distance. But other than that, that's the statistics we've got there. 92% finish rate for Costa, 78% by Israel. Obviously in the UFC, we've seen Costa pretty much knock everyone out. His only fight that wasn't a finish was the Romero one, which was a 3-round war. He almost put Romero away in the first, and then they went for another 2 rounds and had a big battle. What do you expect we see out of each fighter in this matchup?
I expect Izzy to look great. I think this is tailor made for him. I expect him, I do think he's on the cusp of kind of UFC superstardom. He's on the cusp of being among the names of, the Khabibs, the Connors, maybe not the Connors level yet, but he's on the cusp of challenging them as the next big star. I think he's right there. I think people love him. He's got an exciting style, and I think the last fight kind of hindered him a little bit, but he's got back to being fun. He's been calling out John Jones. He's been, signing Puma deals. He's clearly a big star, and it's just about, time and getting the right results. And I expect this fight to make him look like a superstar. I think Costa will come charging forward, and Izzy, with his kickboxing skills, should have enough to keep him at bay and get a finish. He should get a Robert Whittaker type finish where it's brutal. He catches it coming in and he wipes him out.
Mm-hmm.
So I expect a spectacular KO from his end. From Costa's end, I expect him to come rushing in, trying to get the knockout. I think that's what he's got to do. I think he's got to close that gap, as you were saying, about the 8-inch reach advantage, 5-inch reach advantage in the legs. He needs to close that gap, and I think he'll take heart in the fact that Kelvin Gastelum was able to give Izzy probably his hardest fight in the UFC, and he's about 5'9", so I think he'll be confident in closing that gap, getting punches off, and getting a knockout himself quite early. Um, in terms of the fight as a whole, I expect both of these men to kind of want to get it done early. Costa's obviously a big guy. He carries a lot of weight, and he fights at a frenetic pace. He's not going to be able to keep that up for 5 rounds. I think he'll be storming, trying to get the KO in the first couple of rounds, and then anything after that is Izzy's fight. And then I think Izzy will want to make a statement too. So I expect him to go for the early knockout as well. It's going to be a fun fight. It's got to be a fun fight. I can't imagine anything else.
Yeah, and I do want to agree with you on that. We haven't seen Costa go more than 3 rounds, and in that 3rd round against Romero, both guys were fatigued, so it wasn't really a good showing of his cardio in that sense. Whereas all these other fights have finished in the 1st or 2nd round. Like his first One, look at his record. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. His first 9 fights all finished in the first round with him winning by stoppage. So we really haven't seen his gas tank tested. And, going into a title fight, you really got to think he's put in the effort to get himself conditioned for 5 rounds. So I don't know if the cardio will be an issue here. But he's going to have to press forward. He's going to have to get inside the pocket and land those big shots. Put Izzy on the cage where Izzy has 1 or 2 ways to go and try and anticipate where he's going to land on him. Because if they go into a technical striking match, he's going to lose. Israel's much more technically sound than him. Israel's much more technically sound than a lot of people. But Israel, I know that he would disagree with this. I know that a lot of people may disagree with this. I don't think he has the power Costa has to put you away with one punch that's going to drop you and finish you. I think he did that to Whitaker and he did that to Tavares. No, it wasn't Tavares. Who was it? Brunson. Brunson and Whitaker, he managed to get out of there. But the rest of his wins have been decisions, really, haven't they? And that's not to say he doesn't have power, but I think Paulo Costa is a very, very durable guy. We've seen him, he got clocked by Romero and he still stood there and took it. So I think the durability of Costa might show. Possibly in the later rounds, Israel could find a finish. I still see that happening. He drags him to later rounds and finds a TKO towards the end. But one factor that a lot of people aren't speaking about in this fight is that Paulo Costa had a grappling base. That was his first martial art. He doesn't use it. We haven't seen him grapple. But I feel like if he is threatened in a situation where he's losing a technical striking match, he's down 3 rounds, maybe he shoots for a takedown. Who knows? And if he gets him to the ground, can he find a submission? I know Israel's got really, really high caliber takedown defense, but we haven't seen his grappling tested at all.
Yeah, I do think I just don't see it going there. I honestly think Costa's gonna have an issue with cardio. I don't see you can't carry that much muscle and not have an issue with cardio. Romero is a prime example of someone who's able to manage you. He's been 5 rounds a few times, and obviously he's been blowing, but he's made the 5 rounds. He's looked good towards the end as well. But he fights in spurts, so maybe that's something Costa being technical and kind of thinking in there. But I honestly think he's just going to come headhunting. I think he's undefeated fighter. He's confident. He's knocked out pretty much everyone. I think he's going to steam forward. He's going to see that Izzy has been rocked. He got rocked by Kelvin in there, and he's going to be confident of doing the same. So I don't know why, as an undefeated fighter, you would change your style and think, I'm going to wrestle. I just think that's a recipe for a loss, really. If you think Izzy is this guy, so I've got to change my whole game to try and... That's the way someone who's, kind of been there, done that, lost a few fights, won a few fights. Both of these guys undefeated. They're both going to think, I'm the best at middleweight. No one's beating me. And but I'm going to come in, do my thing, and it's going to be enough. And that's why it's going to be so interesting for as long as it lasts. In terms of your comment on Izzy's power, he obviously doesn't have that one-punch power, but I see the momentum. It gives him power because people will rush in, and all he has to do is tap them on the chin and they'll go down because they're just not seeing it coming, or they're blind to it. So you could end up getting something like an Aldo McGregor type thing where he rushes in, he gets caught quite early. But then, as you said, Adesanya's got the advantage. The longer this goes on, I do favour him. I think he's got more ways to win. I can see him winning a decision. If Paulo Costa comes out of this fight winning a decision, I'd be very, very surprised. I haven't seen anything that suggests that he'll be able to do that yet. But if he's got that wrestling base and he's able to showcase it, maybe you just can't write these guys off. It's such a great fight, and it's such a great fight to be topping this card, and just can't wait to watch it. It's gonna be epic.
Yeah, and I think that's probably what will happen in this one. I think Israel will find a counter because if Paulo's going to come forward and throw straight shots down the middle, he's going to get hit with a counter. And I don't know if you can put him away. Maybe you can. I'm not trying to underplay Israel's power. I'm just saying that I think Costa's quite durable and he might be able to take the shots. But who knows? Maybe he'll find a finish or he'll just wear him out and get a decision. My final prediction on this one is Israel to win, but I do think it'll be by decision. And I don't see it being this blockbuster, fantastic fight that everyone's hyping it up to be. I see it being a clinic from Israel. I see him outpointing him the whole time. And yeah, I just don't think it's going to be a war like people want to see.
My final prediction is I'm predicting a really fun fight. Obviously, I'm hoping it is, but I also think Izzy needs a really fun fight. I think the last one would have hurt him, to be getting them type of criticisms. He's someone who's a showman. He's someone who wants to be the next superstar. Not only is he on his way there, he's actively trying to be the next superstar. You can tell everything he does. It's premeditated. Obviously this whole little beef thing that's been going on with these back and forth for a few months now. We seen it was all pretty much fake because they met up and they were all friendly. So, he's someone who is very interested in that side of stuff of what the fans want, their perception. I'm sure he reads all the comments and things like that. So I think he can't afford another snooze fest. He can't afford to be um like one of them champions. I don't think he wants to be GSP, where obviously GSP is a goat, but I don't think he wants to be decisioning people every time. I think he takes pride in putting people away. He's a kickboxer. He's been doing his whole life, and I think he'll be confident. When Costa's running at him, he'll be able to catch him and get it done. And yeah, so ultimately, my thing is, I think he'll take him out within 3 rounds. I think probably the third is the most likely. Costa will be dangerous in the first, less dangerous in the second, and then probably ready to go in the third.
All right, well, looking forward to the fight. Hopefully it does stand up. Hopefully it's not like that Romero fight from last time, because we can all agree that wasn't a great one. But yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll speak to you after the fights.
Thanks, guys.